Today on Homeworthy, we're stepping into 7 breathtaking rooms inside a marvelous Dallas mansion that's home to this year's Kips Bay Showhouse. 25 top interior designers each had just 8 weeks to transform a different space. The results? Incredible. From tranquil retreats and elegant salons to playful, vibrant spaces, each room offers a distinct style that seamlessly blends design with luxury. Expect to see lush textures, bold color palettes, and intricate details that create a fresh take on timeless design. Every room invites you to escape, unwind, and be inspired by the remarkable artistry at work. Enjoy this special episode of Homeworthy and welcome to the Kips Bay Showhouse. You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hi, Homeworthy. Welcome to the Salon de Champagne. Come on in. Hi, Homeworthy. I'm Trish Sheats. Welcome to the salon. So glad you're here. The salon is the living room for us, and it is a space that I think would be fun to be hanging out with my friends. We could play backgammon, we could play cards, play a game, mahjong, and have a drink. There are little nooks all around the room. We could have little places to sit down and just enjoy a visit. This room was pretty dark because all of the trim was a dark wood. It was a really dark space. So my inspiration for the space started with a call from Kravet when they found out that I was doing the show house, because they had a special line that they did a collab with Joseph Altazara, and he's a fashion designer, and they did this couture line with him, and they asked me if it'd be something I would be interested in looking at to see if I wanted to use in the show house. So we went through the process of looking at the different fabrics, and then I chose several of them to start my jumping off point for my colors. And that's when I knew I was going to do the blues and the greens and just something that would be very inviting. This is a space I wanted people to gravitate towards and just hang out in. And then I paired it with a Gracie wallpaper, this amazing Gracie wallpaper, which gives us such a light and airy, beautiful floral to add and pair with the Altazara, which is a little sleeker, to make it kind of a fun pairing. I'm so excited to show you around my room. Let me start by telling you how I got the inspiration of the layout for the furniture and the way that the groupings would be, because this is a rather large room. So for me, I wanted to have lots of little cozy corners and tie it together with back-to-back sofas so that it feels very inviting and you could sit in any space and be able to talk across the area to see friends or to visit and just be able to communicate with everybody that was in here. So let's start with this little corner, little banquette that I had made. You can tell that I love the details. So we used this beautiful cotton and towel, cut velvet, and then added this silk satin in this custom shaped banquette. And then you can see this little stripe is pleated. And then we come down here and have the trim, because I just love all the details. I think it makes it so special, and it makes it very one of a kind for my client, which is special for them. No one else will have it. I love incorporating black into every space. I think it's really, really important, and antiques. Well, this one does both, so that's super fun. And custom lampshades are a way to dress up a little lamp. It could be even a plain lamp that was a gourd lamp. To add a custom lampshade will just knock it out of the park. Makes it special again. These pillows are so fun. They are done by a mother-daughter team out of New Orleans, Beavis Pillows, and they're all made from old antiques textiles, and they add them onto the pillows, and so they're just stunning. And they're all in different colors of velvet that kind of really capture a fun corner and someplace that you'd want to be comfortable and relax in. Okay, so let's come over here and I'll show you the custom mantle that I had made for this space by Kashi Ornamental. They worked with me on adding a fireplace, because I feel like in a room this size, you would want to have a fireplace, because fireplaces are inviting, and I'm one that, if it's 60 degrees, I'm going to turn the fireplace on, because it just is a warm place and very inviting. So I added the mantle to be a little fun. I love the oriental like flair of it, and that was our inspiration, is that we wanted all these beautiful details in here to be really a showstopper. And then my son designed the fire screen and had it made for me, and it is actually out of brass. So it's real fun. We have an antique mirror above it that is from New Orleans, that just, the chinoiserie just fits right in with what we have going on in the room and complements it. The color inspiration for the room came from these fabrics. They are a custom, brand new line that was just done with Joseph Aldazara, and they did he's a fashion designer, and they did a collaboration with him, and I fell in love with this fabric called Moth, because it's just so beautiful. It's got a great texture and hand. The woven is just amazing. And so I selected this fabric as well as the beautiful velvet that's on the window treatments. It has a beautiful hand too. You can see it's got a sheen to it, and it's just very unusual. These are brand new fabrics, and so they asked me if I'd be interested in it, and so I fell in love with them. You can see this is Samuel & Sons trim, and then I keep saying I'm always about the details, but this is a flat front twelt out of a cravat silk satin, just to set it all off. I paired this Joseph Aldazara fabric with this beautiful Gracie wallpaper, because it just gave you a light outdoor, like bringing the outside in, and just a flirty feminine feeling. And I think it's so fun, contrast with this a little more contemporary Joseph Aldazara. The other thing is, I love the colors blue and green, because they are in nature. And then we did pops of bright colors of pinks and oranges and peaches as our pop of color to complement the warm and the cool, because I think that's really important in every room too. It gives you the right balance. It helps so that the room just feels complete when you do that. I think this is so cute. The little table to separate the the sofas. I could have put the sofas just back to back. I think it's fun to have a middle table, because then you can add a little light in the middle of it. And here we go. We've got all the cute little details of the trim and the stripe and the silk satin and a little flat front twelt. As you can tell, I love all the little curated accessories. They come from, some of them are from my house, some of them are things that I've collected for a long time, or some of them are new. But I always think it's fun to make sure that your accessories feel like you and represent things that you love. Like art is another way that's very important as well. I love mohair, and so these sofas are a beautiful Donkia mohair, and this blue is just so livable to me. And then I did a little accent. I used this beautiful Touton and Tout silk stripe, and instead of putting on the bias, I wanted it straight up and down, because I think it gives you such a pretty, just feminine, flirty feel. And then we played with the pillows, repeating that fabric, and it kind of looks even different on there. And I love the Greek key pattern that we added to the sofa at the pleats. And then Samuel & Sons does custom coloring of their trims, and they custom colored this darling tassel to match the color of the Greek keys, so that it all flowed together really well. We have this Zoffany silk that I put on these game chairs, and I think they're so fun, because look at the back of them. They have these little frogs on them, which really kind of just adds a little element of surprise, and it also is just the added layer of fun to me in the space. Samuel & Sons also custom colored those to match my silk. So whether you'll be playing a game or just having a glass of wine or champagne, since we're in the Salon de Champagne, I can see people just sitting here by the window and enjoying the light that comes in this room, which is so nice to have a room with with such nice light. Okay, I don't want you to miss this beautiful coffee table that Larry Whiteley did for me. It was a custom piece that he made and was amazing to work with. He used solid brass and then metals, and then he colored the metal here, and you can see he's added little stones to the middle of the flowers, and then around the corner, I asked him if there's any way he could put a couple birds on here, so he added a couple little birds. He's amazing artist to work with. What happens when you find your room is then there are always little surprises in it that you don't expect. For instance, in the middle of the cabinet here, on the right side, the left cabinet has a cement pillar in the middle of it. So even though originally my thought was that we would center the bar and it will be all great, well, that wasn't a possibility because you can't open the door. So that's why it's off center. There's always some little tricky things like that that make it difficult. But the hardest thing for us was that all the pieces in here I had either reupholstered or brand new and were upholstered. So it's the timing of getting all that done, because it's a lot of handwork, because I love all the details, and loving all the details means that I have flat French welts and trims and all kinds of little extras on everything. So it's not just run-of-the-mill kind of a thing. There are all these little special details that are important to me. So my background in interior design is I went to the University of Texas in Austin and studied interior design in their program. I came out of school and worked for Sherry Hayslip doing high-end residential interiors. And then my husband and I moved to Austin, where I worked for another person in Austin for a year, and then I started my own business. My love of design started when I was young. I had a dear friend, and we used to have so much fun drawing floor plans, which is so hard to believe, figuring out how the furniture was going to fit in the different spaces. And so that started my love for design, and it's something that I felt like I knew I wanted to do when I headed to college. And I knew I wanted to do residential after school because I love all the details and I love working with clients, because that's part of the fun, is getting to know what my clients want and figuring it out together. It's not just what I want, it's what they want. My vision for them is their house is perfection, even better than they ever imagined that it could be, but exactly what they had in mind. If I had designed this room for a client, it would be somebody that was very well dressed and loves all the details and really enjoys entertaining, having family and friends around, and just wanting to be in a beautiful space all the time, and just somebody that's very inviting and welcoming into their room. So come on over to the bar, and this is where we would grab a drink. We had some champagne bottles that we had painted to match the wallpaper. Kind of fun, extra little thing. I love the flowers. Park City Petals did the flowers for me and helped me with them. And you know, it wouldn't be a French room if you didn't have an amazing French candle. So we have a Tridon candle and then a diffuser, which smells awesome. It's called actually Versailles, which is so in keeping with our room. But these, all of these beautiful glasses were hand blown by a local artist, and they did an amazing job. So pretty. The coupes are amazing, and then I think these guys are just so beautiful. The swirl, you can't. And of course, see, we got my little bird right there. All right, come on around over here. And this is a really fun, this was one of my first purchases when I found out I was going to do the room, is this little settee, because it is so unusual. It has a high side and a low side so that you would just lounge on it. And I thought it was so funny and fun. And Fortuny is the fabric, which is an old Italian company. And it's a secret how they make their fabrics, but it's very in keeping for what we would expect to be in this room. I wanted you to take note about these beautiful plaster brackets that I had made by Kashi, and I wanted them to kind of pull across the same little feeling that you get from the mantle, so that it would be across the room. So there are actually 6 of them, and then have the real orchids in them, which I think is very fun, and I love them. I want to talk to you about my accessories, because I do love accessories, and I think it's always really fun to find them along the way, or pick up things and know that there's something that I'm always going to have. So I think these alabaster boxes are absolutely beautiful, and of course 3 of kind of everything is amazing, and they're so beautiful, the shapes, and I think it's fun to mix and match the shapes with all the same color. And then these little guys are real special to me. They're kind of fun. They're actually bone little fishermen. And it's kind of fun because they show up in all my photo shoots. I make sure that I take them to any photo shoot because I think they're so fun. They're some of my favorites. An orchid is always a very glamorous way to invite anyone into a space. And they last for a while, so it's probably a little more practical than all the fresh flowers all the time, but it's such a beautiful accent and addition to any room. When someone walks into this space, I want them to feel like they want to live here. They want to stay, they want to sit down and visit or relax and just feel a peace and calmness from being in the space that makes them want to be here and want to have fun, have a glass of champagne, and hang out with friends.
Hi, Homeworthy. I'm CeCe Thompson, and welcome to her dressing room. A dressing room traditionally is where a woman would spend her mornings and evenings getting dressed for whatever lied ahead. When we were assigned the dressing room, we wanted to flip that on its head a little bit and reimagine that space for the modern woman. So this room, which we've renamed Her Retreat, is a place for today's woman to unwind, relax, recharge, seek inspiration in the busy modern world. This room was inspired by Lee Raswell and the work she did with Renzo Mangiardino in her London townhouse in the mid-century. The rooms were layered, exotic, feminine, and that's what we tried to recapture here, but in a more modern way, using a monotone palette. This room looked a little bit different when we received it. It was a conference room. As many of you know, the show house was actually an office before it became a show house. So the walls had a lovely orange peel texture. The ceiling was acoustic tiles, and the millwork was a very heavy, dark cherry wood. So we sort of set about to lighten that and to make it feel more like a residential room. We painted the woodwork a creamy color, which immediately lightened it. We had to plaster, skim coat the walls to allow for the application of wallpaper. And then in the ceiling, we tinted it. We used a beautiful textured linen, a Belgian linen, and swathed the ceiling with the fabric. One, to cover the acoustic tiles, which was a challenge, but also to create a noise barrier, because for this space it was very important that it is quiet and it is serene, and the ceiling fabric helps with the auditory experience, but it also helps to cocoon the room and to add a visual softness. I became an interior designer in a bit of a roundabout way. I did grow up with a mother who was a decorator, and as such swore I'd never become one. After college, I had a short stint in the editorial world at Vogue, and realized quickly that I wanted to do something more hands-on and creative. I loved my time there, it was wonderful, but I just wanted to do something a bit more hands-on. So I went back to school for interior design. I kind of realized that it was the only thing that I was good at. You know, instinctually, rooms and volume make sense to me. I love color, I love to paint. And so I went back to school to really develop a set of tools to do the job at a high level. So I went to Pratt, I received my master's there, and from Pratt I got really an even more important education working in Bunny Williams' office. After the birth of my first child, about 9 years ago, I started the firm, and it's just grown from there. Hi, welcome to Her Retreat. So for this room, I wanted it to be a very peaceful space with layered neutrals and accents, and verdant accents that reference the garden beyond. With any project, I love to curate a room that is a mix of styles, periods, really a collection of objects that creates interesting conversations. So we approached this room like we do any project, which is we started with a plan, a furniture plan, and from there went about finding special pieces to fill the room. So here on this wall we have a beautiful we have a beautiful 19th century French chest with with a Art Deco lamp, also French, and a gilt mirror. Really, it's a simple arrangement that creates some interesting relationships, conversations between pieces. The chest is sprinkled with a few accessories that I imagined the inhabitant of this space had collected on her travels. So we have some Chinese pagodas, an etching of a Bengal tiger, and then of course a little fern, which no room is complete without. I just love the texture they bring. Walking this way, we have a screen in the corner, and this is just a beautiful suede screen with an arched pattern, sort of an Indian-inspired Mughal arched pattern with gold nail heads. And the reason I love this screen is it helps to fill a corner, which is a great trick in a room if you do have an empty corner. And it also adds some architecture to the space. It draws your eye up, and that's always important in design. You want to draw the eye up, and you want to have different heights in a room. So imagine you're creating a little bit of a cityscape. Like a painting, you want to move an eye around. This skirted table added some visual softness to the room. The color is the same as the chair and ottoman across the room, and it's nice to create some balance with color in a room. Again, think of a painting. You want to bring color around the room just like you would on a canvas to move the eye. I love the softness it brings, and this fabulous bullion fringe along the edge from Samuel & Sons really just gives it some great texture and a lot of style. The table has some ferns, a little nod to Bunny Mellon in the silver cash pose, plaster lamps from Liz O'Brien, and then some family photographs. These are actually my children, so it's a bit of a personal moment. They're in antique silver frames from Tiffany's with this beautiful Japanese matchbox and a Chinese tray. The idea here is just, it's a microcosm of the whole room. It's a sort of collection of objects from around the world assembled in a pleasing arrangement. Behind the table, there's an Elu sketch with a piece of contemporary art from one of my favorite galleries, Barry Campbell in New York. All of the art was curated by a dear friend of mine, Isla Gaunt, out of Houston, and I'm so pleased with how she put things together. The daybed was made in India by Raj Company, which is a favorite resource in our firm. It has upholstery hand painted by de Gournay to match the wallpaper. I loved the way these pillows turned out with this little detail. To make the room even more functional, I really wanted to add a desk for our client that we imagined. So here we have this beautiful French desk. I love the dark wood that it brings to the room, a comfortable armchair upholstered in a dark brown leather, which adds a bit of a handsome masculine touch. Again, it's all about relationships in a room. The collection of art over the desk was also curated by Isla. It's a Milton Avery from Barry Campbell, a portrait of a mid-century portrait, and a beautiful little watercolor. The watercolor actually is from my own collection, but it comes together to really feel as if it was collected over time, which is what we wanted. These beautiful curtains by the Shade Store have a really soft shape. They frame the windows and the view beyond. I love this fringe, this wooden detail that we added to the leading edge to give them a bit of a playful vibe, a little bit more texture, to make them a bit more modern. In the center of the room, we added a Swedish style chaise. I really love the idea of bringing in a few more contemporary design elements. On the chaise is a pillow made from a Turkish textile that I actually bought at the Grand Bazaar in Istanbul. There's a little drinks table. No seating arrangement is complete without a drinks table. You have to have somewhere to put down your water, your wine, or even just set your phone. On this side of the room is a beautiful English Regency cabinet from Nick Brock here in Dallas, and because it is a dressing room, we filled it with a wardrobe that we thought the lady of the house might wear. This wardrobe is all from one of my favorite designers based in New York, artistry, and they put together this collection especially for the room, which we're very excited about. You can see it in here too. And we even lined the drawers with a beautiful dark green silk. The details are so important, especially in a small space. So as most designers who have participated in show houses know, it is a very tight timeline. You have about 10 weeks to design, execute, and install the room, which might sound like a lot, but it's really not. A design process usually just alone takes that much time. You know, because there was no client, and really you're your own client in a show house, the design process was fairly quick. I knew immediately that I wanted it to be a serene, feminine, worldly space, and I went to some wonderful vendors who I have established relationships with to do that. Now, the hard part about this timeline isn't necessarily the design, but it's the logistics. So we really relied heavily on our vendors to turn things around very quickly in what's already a very busy time of year before the holidays. And I'd be remiss to not mention my wonderful production manager in my office. She really is the one who deserves much of the credit for getting this across the line. As any decorator also knows, that decorating is a small part of the job, and really it's the logistics that take up a lot of your time in this profession. And this show house, and any show house, really puts that into full relief. The real star of the show in the room is the wallpaper. I partnered with de Gournay to design a custom wallpaper in record time that was based on a pattern they had in their collection. We took that pattern, recolored it in this beautiful neutral palette with some verdant green accents, and we added borders. And I think adding the borders really helped to give this room visual interest and to make it have a lot more depth than it would have otherwise had. I love the pattern. It's based on Indian wall paintings that you'd maybe find in Rajasthan, and it really sets the tone of this feminine, exotic retreat. This chair is where I imagine the lady of the house may have her morning coffee. We upholstered it in a CNC Milano linen, and we actually quilted the fabric, which references the pattern design. And I love that sort of riff on a pattern. It's playful, but it again adds visual depth, which is so pleasant for the eye. So you might notice this old school phone next to the daybed. This is a small effort to remind people of the value of home phones. With 2 young daughters, I am always trying to keep them off iPads, to push off, you know, social media, texting, and a house phone, I think, is the perfect way to do that. I think every house needs one, and it's just sort of an old school, lovely thing that allows us to stay connected, but not too connected.
Hey Homeworthy, welcome to the English Garden guest bedroom. Please come on in. Hi, I'm Lisa Henderson. Welcome to our English Garden guest bedroom. The inspiration for this room was drawn from wanting to create a really warm and cozy and cheerful guest bedroom that would be a place that you would want to come to at the end of the day. Maybe you've been out in the countryside or a neighboring town or just spending the day with friends, and this is where you ultimately wanted to relax and lay your head at the end of the night. The initial jumping off point for this room was the fabric that is on the walls and the drapery, which is actually called the English Garden and is from my textile collection. We started with this as the base and then built all of the other items around it. It looks like wallpaper on the wall, but is actually fabric that we paper backed and hung like wallpaper, and then used the seam as the draperies on the room, and then mixed in a lot of other prints to correlate. This room was a very drastic turnaround. It was extremely bland, extremely commercially looking. It had a very old, dated moire silk on the walls, as well as some really heavy molding and tile ceiling, and it left nothing to be desired. There was definitely a lot of moments of how are we going to turn this around? The textiles throughout the room are either from my collection or from different vendors from James Showroom here in Dallas. We have Leah O'Connell and Mahalo and Lake August and Casa Lopez, as well as our bed. It was given to us by and the bedding is from Leontine. We have artists featured in the room such as Donald Robertson and Carly Beck and Karen Smith and Natalie Oberoff. The room could not have come together without all of these amazing vendors, and we are so appreciative for everything that they have helped. I cannot say that I wanted to be an interior designer as far back as I can remember, but I definitely did start to have the desire when in high school I had a mentor and Bible study leader who was an interior designer with her mom, and we spent a whole lot of time in her house. And it was very warm, it was very cozy, it was really somewhere you wanted to be, and it was tiny. It was so small, and we could not believe how you felt in this really intimate space, and it was just somewhere that you always wanted to come to. And she gave me a lot of guidance on going to work for someone and learning to be trained in the profession, and I definitely owe my initial upbringing to her. Our bed was given to us by and the fabric is from Lake August with a striped bias by Cravat. The bedding is from Leontine, and the Tootsie Roll pillows are from my collection it's called the Mark Yellow fabric, and the duvet is also from my collection. This is called the Lottie and French Blue. The sconces are by Visual Comfort with shades from my collection that's called the Libby fabric in French Blue. And then the bed canopy is also in the same Lake August fabric that we did the bed. And we included a large photograph from Natalie Oberoff that is from Positano. The walls in the room are the English Garden fabric from my collection that we paperbacked and hung like wallpaper. Over here we have two pieces of art from two artists who I really like. The one on bottom is a New York artist named Carly Beck, and she does the most adorable pet portraits. These are my two dogs. Their names are Poncho and Lefty, and the only direction that I gave her was I told her that they are bandits. And I think she just did the most fun job and really captured exactly what we were hoping for. Above it is an artist named Karen Smith. She is Dutch and lives in California, and she is represented here in town at Blueprint Gallery, and they were so kind to let us loan that painting. The seating area here, we have a pair of slipper chairs that are in a fabric by Mahalo and have pillows from Leah O'Connell, both fabrics represented at James Showroom, as well as the sofa here is by Skylar Samperton and pillows from Casa Lopez. The end table is an Indian bone table from Vaughn Designs, as well as the brass lantern in our room. The cocktail napkins are from a collaboration by Maison Venue and Half Past 7. And the art in the window is from local artist Donald Robertson. And the only direction I gave him was I told him that the theme of the room was the English garden and that we were going to suspend his art in the window. And he came up with this fabulous giant daffodil with a ladybug in the middle of it, and I think it just came out amazing. Because the space is a little tight, we wanted something on this wall, but we knew that it had to be just exactly the right dimension. We had our carpenter make this console for us just out of raw wood, and then our wallpaper installer papered it in a paper from our collection that's actually an Indian block print done in India, and created this perfect little spot where we can put books. We have our guest book here that's kind of our nod to leaving the hotel and sign your name on your way out. And then we had these brass brass lamps from Visual Comfort that we actually painted this buttery yellow color with blue striping, and then we have lampshades by Sister Parish on top. And the mirror is from Justin Van Breda, who is an English designer that has some wonderful collections out of both England and South Africa. And the brackets on either side are from Fabulous Things in Atlanta that we put antique Delft plates on top. We decided to do 2 rugs to fill the space and make it feel really cozy and comfortable. The large rug that is cut out to the space is from Stark, and it's a soft sisal rug, and then we layered on top of it a durry from Jaipur with Love, and it's a really fun blue and white pattern that has a Greek key border, and it's actually reversible, which is really nice if you ever need to flip over your current rug. On the bed, we thought it would be fun to include a bed tray because everybody loves to sit in bed and work, whatever it may be. And as our nod to the English countryside, we thought that stitching felt very appropriate. It felt very British to us. And we included some needlepoint canvas from my dear friend Allie Egan, who has a collection with stitch style. And this is actually a canvas featuring Monet's Bridge in Giverny, France. And then we have your glass of water, because everybody always needs a glass of water while sitting in bed, and it's sitting on top of a Porto tray, which just kind of gives for a perfect little spot that you might want to sit at the end of the day while you're looking to relax. Whenever somebody walks into this room, I hope that it brings a smile to their face. I hope that they immediately think that it is cheery and comfortable, and that it is kind of a sunshine space, and that it's somewhere that they would want to spend the day.
Hey Homeworthy, welcome to the Whimsical drawing room.
Come on in. Hey Homeworthy, I'm Matt, this is Heather French. We're French and French Interiors from Santa Fe, New Mexico.
Welcome to the Whimsical drawing room. The inspiration for this room came from a trip that my daughter and I did to Palm Beach, and we went to the Flagler Museum, where there's this really beautiful feminine pastel colored drawing room, which is a room that you go to after dinner to have a drink and chat with your friends, gossip a little bit, and do embroidery or all sorts of little crafty things or play games. So that was really the inspiration for the space, was just this warm, enveloping space. We decided to switch from pastels, which you would normally see in a drawing room, to these really muddy earth tones that we did in the space, which really started with the Gracie American folk wallpaper that you see here.
When we first came across this room, it was actually sort of an office space and had a drop ceiling. It was 50 shades of brown and paneling, and desperately in need of us.
So the first piece that inspired the room was this beautiful Gracie mural called American Folk. And there wasn't a repeat on this paper, and so Gracie, in 6 weeks' time, created this entire mural, which does not repeat at all. It's absolutely stunning, the detail that went into it. And the colorway in it was very particular, so that's where we jumped off on the space. And then from there, we layered in the drapery fabric, which is a really small embroidery by Sanderson that's a bit more colorful and kind of brings in this like country garden feel to the space. This area of the room is the seating area. We have this really beautiful Gracie wallpaper here, and we left this wall open so that you can really see the detail of the mural. It's stunning. It's called American Folk. From there, we have these really beautiful Arteriers cocktail cabinets that I love their chagrin, and absolutely, I love the height of them. They're really beautiful. From there, we have all of the upholstery in the space is Coley Home. We decided to do a mohair on these Coley Home pieces. This is their new collection that's launching in High Point this season. We have these really cute lumbar pillows that are Sanderson and have a really beautiful pink trim to them, and this really great sawtooth stripe. I adore this. We chose this really fun 1970s abstract piece of art for the wall to really juxtapose the difference between the mural and make this a bit more contemporary feeling. I like the way that that flows together and doesn't distract from the mural. It's a great piece from Co-Collect. From there, we have this really great lacquer Arteriers cocktail tables. I love how the color grounds the space and gives a little bit of like reflection and vibrance to the room, and has like a fall type feeling, which is nice. This beautiful sofa from Coley Home is super comfortable. I love this sofa. And we layered it with Sanderson embroidered fabrics, which really coordinate well with the drapery, which is a smaller pattern on the drapery, and then goes into the stripe of the ceiling. So this rug is New Moon, which is a really incredible company. I love the light tones in it. It's got very light yellows and blues in it, and it really complements and grounds the space. We chose to do these really beautiful fall leaves for the florals in the room, and I love how it pulls off of the colors in the space. It kind of bounces off of the coffee table and really kind of brings a lot of life into the space. So our entire accessories package didn't show up for the room, and we were scrambling at the last minute trying to bring in accessories for the space. So we went antiquing and we found this really, really great little bar set here with this little woodpecker head on it. And all of the rest of the accessories in the room here locally at their really stunning antique stores. We also have these fun made good boxes here, which I love how the goldenrod color is popping throughout the entire room. It really kind of grounds everything and brings it together.
We met in school and we're in completely different fields at the time. I, renewable energy, Heather, natural medicine. We remodeled a few homes together, and everyone said we were going to kill each other, but it actually drew us closer. And you know, as we went throughout our sort of 20s careers that were so sort of altruistic and everything, we started to notice our shelter magazines piling up and sort of seeing what our real passions were. So as the remodels went on, we realized what we really wanted to do, and this is it.
My favorite thing about the room is how it's really layered. I think one of the things that we pushed hard on was the different types of scales that you see in the patterns in the room. So we have the wallpaper, we have the drapery, and we have the stripe and the tent ceiling. The tent ceiling, I think, was probably the most intense part of the project. It took 6 days to install with somebody on a ladder with a tiny needle and thread getting it perfect. So I think that's probably my favorite part of the room.
I love all that, but for me, the layout, I love a salon. I love somewhere where everyone can sort of retreat to and you know, play games, hang out, have conversations. But as far as like the thing I love the most in here, this mural is incredible from Gracie. I feel like this is something that you could live here your whole life and still be discovering things in it.
So that's the living side of the space, and from here, Matt's gonna take it to the dining side of the space.
Hey, welcome to the dining area of the room. We created this little sitting room, this area here to, you know, a space where a family could play cards, hang out, eat. We love these chairs from Coley Home, and one of our favorite things in a space like this is to have a rolling chair like this. You know, we really see a room like this, and any space we really approach from a multi-generational perspective, right? And so a chair like this, you could seat great grandma in. She can get in and out independently, up and out of the chair. Kids love to play in them. We always recommend wheels. They're so much fun. We also have this banquette here from Coley Home, and this beautiful mohair, and this pillow here covered in this same Regency Aubergine sawtooth from Sanderson and trim. And these etagers here are from Arteriers, which we love. We love to bring in, you know, we're primarily really love traditional pieces and aspects of architecture, but feel that something like this that's modern really complements and jumps out of the space. So here we have that. You know, we love geometry, but one of the things that we bring in, the whimsy and our personalities into space, is botanicals and natural elements from images like on these plates, but also, you know, florals that are not just flowers, you know, all sorts of foliage and things like that that can go into a piece. And we love to work in all sorts of different foliage. I was so excited to see our florist found this sugar gum cutting from a tree. It was one of my favorites as a kid. You know, it doesn't have a great wood species quality for build or furniture, but was always such a great firewood, and these spiky balls that come off of this tree. It was really exciting to see, so creative for her to find a piece like this. This little mod cart here, bar cart from Arteriers, is a great example of something that we would put into our work, because we do use so many traditional elements in our design that something like this I feel is so illuminated and in a place that's not covered in mid-century that just a little bit goes a long way. These drapes here we love this was the forager pattern from Sanderson, and this great turmeric trim that we pulled throughout the whole room was just, we're so happy to find this. Sanderson's been so great. Yeah, I don't want to forget this beautiful Arteriers table. We love a pedestal table for a situation like this, for like a little 4-person setting, because nobody has a foot in the way, but something so interesting to look at.
When somebody walks into this room, I really want them to feel enveloped in this space. I want it to feel cozy and relaxed, a place where you can play games and just really chill. I want the space to envelop you and not feel pretentious or precious at all. I want you to feel like you can make a mess, and I think our design sense in general is if a room can be good and still look really beautiful in daily life, that is the sign of good design.
Hi Homeworthy, welcome to La Chambre d'Enfants, our Kips Bay Decorator Show House here in Dallas. Come on in. Hi, I'm Katie Davis with Katie Davis Design, and we are in La Chambre d'Enfants, which is the kids' room, here at the Kips Bay Showhouse, Dallas. This kids' room is super special because we tinted the room. So we wanted to design a space that was really unique, and so we had an interesting ceiling to deal with. So we decided to do a canopy on top and then wrap the room in drapery, so it almost feels like you're going into a child's tent. This room was very simple when we first saw it. It had like white fabric on the walls. It had a very thick white Berber carpet. There actually was a window behind me and behind this drapery that went into the interior hall. So very different than it looks today. The inspiration for this room actually started with the twin beds. Once we saw that we were getting this room with the window, I really wanted to do twin beds, and instantly that made me think of a kid's room. I love kids' spaces with all the color and the whimsical features that we can add, and so it just allowed us to really showcase our patterns and our pattern play and layering and all the details. I have always wanted to be an interior designer. However, before, I actually was a lawyer for 9 years. So this is a hard left, but I have loved every minute of the change, and it's really truly been the life's calling. My favorite part about being an interior designer is the clients. I actually just love being in their spaces and creating beautiful homes that their families can grow in and enjoy with friends and for years to come. We tinted the room, and so we use this wonderful drapery by Sanderson in the space, and really it just creates that sense of coziness. Don't know if everyone wants to tint a room, but tinting it around a bed is a really neat way to kind of create that same feeling. We brought in this really cool vintage Wickerworks chair that I actually sourced from Cherish, and recovered it in this beautiful Lee Joffa fabric and this adorable English brand called Sewn Britain pillow. I love the way we added the ties here, very whimsical and sweet and delicate. And then something we love doing is pairing vintage pieces with high gloss pieces. I think it really just adds to kind of a new traditional look where we're pairing in some modern accents, and so Oomph provided us some really pretty lacquered pieces here. All these fun little antiques and details are actually from a local antique showroom. So it's really fun to go in and just find things that speak to you, and when you layer them together, it creates the story. And then here on this wall, we are showcasing the Schumacher wallpaper, again layering on the canopy, but the artwork here is by Mary McGuire. She's out of Connecticut, and she just really creates these beautiful watercolor pieces. These are our gorgeous mahogany twin beds. They started as antique pieces that we found, but they were just not gonna hold up to weight, so we had them recreated at our workroom. We love twin beds. I think it's a great way, something to use in a guest room. Obviously a kid's room would be great too, but it's a really neat way to add some kind of whimsy to your space. We have the drapery here kind of wrapping the beds to create that cozy feeling. And I love adding a sconce over a bed. It's good reading light, it highlights some artwork. Here we have this adorable, cute oyster shell lamp from Limehouse Lighting. Over the pillows again, and added a cute little pleated detail. And what's really fun is we loved doing this. So you could change whatever you're in the mood for. You could flip the pillows, but it just adds a fun detailed accent to the space. Obviously cozy sheets and bedding. We used Courtney Barton's Dohar blankets here, which are just really comfortable and sweet. And then coming over to the console, again, the Oomph piece here, having something lacquered next to the antique beds. And then we layered in the antique pieces we found over at the antique showroom. Even this cute little tea set. It's just something fun that you can find and layer in. On this side, we also added the Mary McGuire artwork. And one thing we did is we suspended the art from this art rod. It's something that you can do, actually, this is from Pepe and Carol, which is just an online website that you can buy brass rods from. And it's little details like that that really make rooms special, and just a different way to do a gallery wall. It's also something easy to change in and out. So if it was your kids' photos or kids' artwork, it'd be a really good way to kind of change it up over time. And then kind of as we come down here, we have our benches that we made with Lee Joffa's fabric. And if you can see it, there's this really adorable little ball detail trim at the bottom. And of course, the rug is a beautiful flat weave that we really enjoy. It's great for high traffic, it's cozy, it's comfortable, and it's by English Village Lane. Our wallpaper is through Schumacher, it's Whimsical, and it's just absolutely beautiful. It's all these little botanicals from like an English garden, and we just love how it really added to the layer of the room. And Schumacher was also kind enough to gift us the fabric above, which created our canopy. The ceilings in this show house were definitely interesting and something we needed to disguise. So we loved the idea of tinting the room in fabric, and we created this kind of trade ceiling up and then actually upholstered the ceiling and added the scallop valance around the room. The installation, actually, the actual fabrication of the space was the hardest part. So we worked with a builder, Carolyn Eiler, and she helped us create that. That took about 2 weeks to figure out the ceiling, because you're also taking into consideration your AC, the fire sprinklers, the electricity into the room. And then once we kind of had that framework down, our upholsterer team from IDS was able to come in and add in these layers. And so it was really great to work together. Okay, truly the cherry on top to our room is our Colleen Ritter lantern. It's a tomato red. And it's one I've personally always loved and want to put in my own home. So it was really exciting to be able to use her piece here in our space. And just that pop of red adds to our layers of blues and greens and just kind of brings a smile to your face. If you're wanting to add more whimsy into your child's room or into any space, it's just about layering those fabrics together and really just find one that you love. So in this space, we started with the orange botanicals from Sewn Britain, and I knew that floral needed something geometric. So that was how we layered in the Sanderson drapery and wanted a contrast on the ceiling and found the check. And so all those different patterns speak to each other, but they're also playful and unique in their own space. So here at the Kips Bay Decorator Show House, we're literally room by room, different designers, and so wanted to kind of create a little vestibule space. So we actually have this tent entrance where we draped it and added these really cute tiebacks from Samuel & Sons. We added these beautiful blue and white plates, again from the antique showroom that we were able to find, and it's these collector's pieces that don't really perfectly match, but it's just when you add everything together that adds those layers and details, and really just should make the space feel at home. When someone walks in here, I want them to feel cozy. I just love the idea that they feel relaxed. I love the concept of livable luxury, of casual elegance, that you can live in our spaces and lay on the bed and get cozy, but it's also really pretty. So we would love that feeling.
Hi, Homeworthy. I'm Ashley Ross, founder and principal of Muse Noir Interiors. Welcome to Sit Lux Privé, the hottest tasting lounge in Dallas. Come on in. I'm Ashley Ross, founder and principal of Muse Noir Interiors, and you are sitting in Sit Lux Privé. Sit Lux translates from Latin to let there be light, and I designed this space to essentially be a private tasting room in the city's finest restaurant. My initial plan, because we have no windows, was to make this the moodiest room in the show house. How I decorated the space. So we started in Charlotte, North Carolina, and once we knew that we were coming down to Dallas, Texas, in full transparency, I was a little scared of Texas, but my background is in business development, and one of the things that I needed to do was to make a strategic plan. Strategically in that plan, at the top of it was applying for Kips Bay, because this is like the Met Gala of our industry to do as a show house. And so I thought, if I'm gonna relaunch this business, it has to be in a major way. It has to be in a way that makes it easy for us to say that we are here, and what better way to do that than Kips Bay? And so I didn't want to come as like the Muse Noir version of us in Dallas. I didn't want to assimilate in terms of our design aesthetic and our ethos. And so it was really important for me to show up unapologetically Black. It was really important for us to show up unapologetically Muse Noir Interior. So that means tactile, textural, this intersection of culture and interior wellness. And I wanted to make a statement. I wanted to say, hey, I'm here. And this whole concept of let there be light is all about less than 2% of designers in the industry are Black. You know, I just so happened to be the only Black person in the show house. So I was carrying a lot. I wanted to show up for the people that look like me with shared experiences and really zone in on Muse Noir is here to redefine how we see home. So when I first got into this space and all of my excitement, I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I was a little terrified. The walls were this beige color, which I knew we would cover. But one of the things that I wanted to stay true to was the fact that when we come to our clients, we don't want them to think everything has to be new, right? We want a couple things to feel collected. We want that global experience where you've been to Morocco, you've been to Paris, you've been to all the places, and you've collected some things along the way, right? So you find a lot of treasures in Sit Lux Privé. You find a lot of things that you can't just find anywhere. And that was intentional for us because we always want our clients to know, hey, you don't have to get rid of everything. So you'll see we kept a lot of our trim work around on both the crown molding and around the chair rail. And that's intentional because not everything great has to be new. We can collect a couple of things along the way. I'll also tell you a really good secret that I don't know if I was gonna share, but this piece here was already in the building, and a lot of designers downstairs wanted to have this in their space, but it weighs 2,000 pounds. So guess who got to keep it? Me. Now, when I show you what is directly in front of me, we'll come back to her and make this make a little bit more sense. So this is our show-stopping piece. I have salivated over this piece for probably a decade. It is Gordon Parks, shot in 1956 during his segregation series for, I believe, Time magazine. This is a complete candid photo, and it means different things to different people because clearly it's art. But this is an aunt taking her niece to a theater during segregation, And there's this juxtaposition of how culturally we have had to show up in a way where we are pristine as a culture, where we cannot just be responsible for ourselves. And the juxtaposition comes in where she has this little slip moment that's coming down. She's fully aware of her surroundings, and obviously it's not the safest time for us, but I cannot put my mind on a more beautiful, candid photo that captures our history, our heritage, and just the essence of the posturing that we have to do. And so when I built and developed Muse Noir Interiors, I wanted to do so in a way where our clients who look like us, who have shared experiences, they understand that we shed a lot of ourselves going out into the world to fit societal norms. And so when they come back into the home that we've designed for them, we really want to make them whole immediately again. We want to make sure that their ROI on their home is coming to them not just when they go to sell it, but every day that they get to rebuild themselves coming back into the world. And this photo is quintessential for, you know, where we were at Muse Noir. So this pushed me to be in my brave space for Kips Bay, because I don't think Kips Bay was expecting this. However, I wanted to do so in a way that brought beauty to the space. Because we don't have any windows, I wanted to still drape something. And so we draped these lights with the help of our partners from Luke Lamp Co. So these are 29-foot tracer loop lighting. And then we got to work with Samuel and Sung to place these little tassels at the bottom of each of them that adds just this little chef's kiss, right? And the beautiful thing about these lights, they are all polyester. You can control how much light you get. They go on a dimmer switch, but you can also make them exactly what you want them to be, which you can do all kinds of draping. But the purpose of how I've installed this lighting against the art is that I really wanted people to have to step into the light to face something that they feel. So again, I'm not responsible for what you feel in the space, but I know it is absolutely impossible for you to not feel a thing. And so this being shot where, you know, her aunt's taking her niece to the movies, we tied in these vintage theater chairs, which I've also been obsessed with for a little while. I love that they come in pairs, and in my head, these could have been their theater seats. And it's just a really good, it's just a really good shot. And so if people want to come into the space and essentially just have a moment, right? Like, be within yourself with this moment, but this is the moment and it's unavoidable. And that's what I wanted. I wanted this unavoidable, visceral reaction where people understand that interior design doesn't have to be all flowers, birds, and whimsical things. There can be a lot of mood, a lot of passion, a lot of power within these walls. And that's what I wanted to do. That was important to me. So now that you guys know the story behind the full-on statement piece of the room, let me make this piece make a little more sense. So I knew that I would have to have this bust here that I found at Schwung in High Point, North Carolina. But I was like so unsure of how I would get her to sit up high, because I had some intention behind this. I wanted this to be this, or feel like this ancestral oversight of this moment, just really kind of ensuring that safe passage happens within this space. And so when I found this in one of the rooms in this space, I thought this is the perfect height, this is the perfect space, perfect colorway. We added some of Perennial's fringe benefits to it just to kind of make it our own. But yeah, this is a powerful piece, and I think for me it represents just how much oversight our ancestors have and how we are literally living their wildest dreams and their deepest, darkest prayers for us to, you know, live beyond the moment that's happening in that photograph. Now, for the walls, we are at Muse Noir known for this tactile experience, this textural tactile experience. And for a while, I have been all over this company, Elatis, can be found in Paris, France, and they teamed up with me. And when I tell you, you guys, I knew I wanted this color palette, this aubergine and this electric red. Thank you, Benjamin Moore, for making the perfect colors. But I wanted to come through and just give people something very unexpected. And I was just not sure how I would tie it in from a tactile aspect until I ran into this Elatis wallpaper. So it's aubergine, it is from their paper collection, it's all handmade. And so what you see, if you get a little close, you'll see the detail is this, there's this singular red stitch going through each one. And it's super fun because you can kind of control how you want the paper to come across. You can go flat or you can raise it a bit. And I mean, they just do wallpaper really, really good. So I will try to make this the shortest answer, but this is the sweetest story, and I will not have an Oprah moment on Homeworthy. I will keep my tears in the ducts. Essentially, I wanted to be the biggest, baddest fundraiser on the planet when I came out of grad school. And oddly enough, that we're here at Kips Bay, I am a Boys and Girls Club alum. I grew up in the Boys and Girls Club, so I'm currently having this full circle moment. And so coming out of grad school, I went into fundraising. I worked back in my local club. And for a while, that was great. That was good enough for me. I just knew I wanted to give back in that way until I had the beautiful opportunity to become a mom. And that moment that I saw our daughter, Naomi Newore Ross, I knew that that goal of fundraising no longer mattered to me. I wanted to launch a career where I could essentially live and love on my own terms, and we had just so happened to purchase our own home for the first time. So that was a little scary, but it gave me the greatest gift outside of Naomi, and that was that there was a gap for me missing in how home was defined for us on TV. A lot of us get our sense of interior design and home from television. And one thing I realized was her room was the first space that we got really intentional in designing. And with that intention, it started to flood throughout the rest of the home. And I realized that every time we get really intentional about a space, we start gravitating toward that space. So in my mind, I thought there's something people aren't talking about. There's a wellness component that's not being discussed. So when I knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur, my first stop was, let me try interior design. So I am completely self-taught, but the business behind it is how we've been able to grow so fast and go so far, because relationships are the most important thing to us. And that I've gotten as a transferable skill from my business development days, but I know without a shadow of a doubt that this is where I'm supposed to be right now. So our sofas are from David Sutherland. They have been great partners, and this is actually a 3-piece sectional that if someone doesn't purchase it during the show house, it's coming home with me for sure. Now, our end tables, the marble end tables are from our friends at Liège. And these little lily pilf tables are from Tom Forge, which are so sweet in any space. I love that they allow us to layer without adding too much volume to a space. And so you see it here and this metal material, but then you also get this sweet little kiss with the glass in the metal. And I sourced this in Illinois. Strange story, but this speaks to how collected things are. We were traveling for a wedding, you guys, and I chipped my tooth. And I went back to my grad school dentist in Illinois, and while I was waiting, I went into a vintage shop and found this 1920s purse, and I've kept it in this little case, but it is the sweetest little thing, and it just ties in. Oof, what if there was some money in there? But it just ties in how important, you know, things being collected to us really is. And so I could have worn it as a purse, but I'm an interior designer, so I wanted it to feel like a piece of art. I wanted it to feel like an artifact. If anybody asks, I got this off the Titanic. That's my story. Let's skip the chip tooth story and just say it was Lucy's or whatever that lady name was on the Titanic. So a majority of our smaller accessories are from Made Goods. Thank God for Made Goods. These little tassel benches from them. And then you'll see that we are fully prepared to play up this concept of a restaurant. And so this is the to-go box from our little virtual restaurant that we've created in our head to go with our Sit Lux Privé tasting lounge. And they're full of goodies, so I hope you guys get to experience those in person. Then for this sweet little vintage shop, we have these books along with our tray, because anybody can go with a bar, but what we all really need is a library. Our drapes are fun and from Metaphors and France. And I kind of wanted to buck the system and do away with live flowers. And if it wasn't for the Papa Red and the Rose, we would just have these dried out branches, because wellness is really important to me. And I just didn't want to keep killing a bunch of flowers if I'm honest. That's a little morbid. We were able to reimagine this bench for the sake of time for the show house work. We didn't want to go too crazy on the custom work because that would have stressed me out. But the fabric on the front is Metaphors and the seat is Kravet. Our friends at Kravet have taken good care of us. And then very near and dear to us, our special partners are Baldwin Hardware. So this here is from their modern collection, and it's one of their more contemporary pieces in my opinion, and it's so sleek and I'm just obsessed with it. You can put a back plate on it or not, but it really just comes across as, you know, who needs a pull? Who needs a little tactile moment within your hardware? And so I don't know if you guys know this, but Baldwin is a legacy brand that literally broke the mold for Jackie O at the White House. She created something with Baldwin back in the day, and literally after they were finished, they did away with the entire mold. And I mean, I wish you could feel the weight of these handles, because it's really luxury in the smallest detail. And I think that's coming back on trend, is for us to really pay attention to the details. And so I think you should start with Baldwin Hardware. So I'm really excited, having just moved here as the newest, best, latest interior designer in Dallas. But I really wanted to use partners that I was familiar with, use partners that I really wanted to get to know and I've been dying to work with. But it was also important for me to use some help or get some help from some local artists. And so that's what you're seeing on the ceiling is Kat Alexander and her urchin wallpaper that she prints right here in Dallas. How do I want people to feel when they come in this room? I don't think I'm responsible, or I don't think that I have a true license over specifically how people feel when they come into this room, but I want it to be a visceral reaction. It's like this moment for me is fully defined or fully realized as the artist, right? I'm gonna make what's good for me, and how you receive it is kind of your business. And so I am a true student of culture, well-traveled, and through that, essentially what I want to take away is that community really is the forefront of culture. And so I want to redefine home in a way where people get to reintroduce community, culture, traditions, customs, all back into their home, because there's a piece of community that we're missing in this era of social media. So when people come in here, I'm not responsible for what they feel, but you will feel something. You will feel me. You'll feel Muse Noir. This is not a homecoming. This is not a layover for us, but it's a homecoming.
Hi, Homeworthy. I'm Paul Fields.
I'm Becky O'Neill, and I'm with Lambert's Landscape Company. This space is Jardin Bleu, and we designed this space to create a welcoming feel with French influence to coordinate with the building architecture. And we selected finishes to give that French feel with parterre garden, different room spaces to balance the long terrace that was existing.
So when we first arrived at the site, it was a very warm day here in Dallas, and we knew immediately that we were going to have to not only soften all the harsh stone on the terrace, but do things to create some shade so that we could have a cooling effect. The idea was to create these two fabric pavilions within the garden, anchoring either end, and then we did some holly trees that are in our Buxus box planters, which are a take on a Versailles box. So the space was inspired by the French architecture of this chateau-like office building, which has been turned into a beautiful kind of home or chateau type feel. We knew we wanted to have a classically inspired space so that it blended well with the architecture. Welcome to the seating pavilion here. We crafted this pavilion out of fabric, both perennials, this nice perennials, blue and white striped, as well as the Kravitz fabric that's on the ceiling. Campagna was nice enough to let us use these nice cast stone bases to anchor the pavilion down so we don't have an issue with our wind here in Dallas. And we also have this beautiful line from Sutherland Furniture in teak for the chairs.
Featured in this area, we have a French limestone fountain, and it recirculates. It's the focal. It's on axis with the opposite garden pavilion in the terrace. We have plantings of Salvia leucantha, clipped boxwood, Buxus boxwoods, and holly fern, just to create a welcoming feel to the garden.
The wall fountain, by the way, is provided by Pate.
In our sitting area, we coordinated the accessories. We picked up colors in the books and accent pieces to coordinate with the perennial fabric on the awning and the covered area canopy. And so that just balance the garden. We tried to carry on our color throughout in our plantings and our rugs, just different accessories.
These great tables are by Brown Jordan, as well as the ottoman with the cushion in the center.
We would love to show you our other seating area. Follow us to the next pavilion.
So this is our dining pavilion. Again, we did another fabric pavilion on this end of the garden with both the perennials, striped fabric, and then the Kravitz fabric on the ceiling. Wonderful French-inspired lantern to light the space. Back here, we worked with one of the sponsors of Kips Bay, Kalamazoo, and Urban Bonfire to design and install this beautiful outdoor kitchen. Urban Bonfire cabinetry and these great Kalamazoo appliances, the Gaucho grill, which I think is perfect for here in Texas, as well as a pizza oven.
The accessories we selected, again, we're trying to pick up and coordinate the blues. And Charles, one of the designers on this project, he's from the Upper Coast, and so these are some books special to him that picked up that blue coastal feel to the garden. And this is some delphinium that picks up the blue of our garden. And we also use some rosemary, the Satopiary planter, and then pansies in the little pots. Also in our garden, we designed outdoor lighting. It's a low voltage LED lighting that's placed to create a glow for at nighttime and make the garden usable at night, along with our chandelier in the seating rooms.
Like we mentioned earlier, we're with Lambert Landscape Company. Lambert's has been around a long time. This is our 105th year in business. We've been in Dallas since the 1930s, and we're actually the city's first landscape architecture firm. We have a garden design studio as well as a construction company that constructs and crafts these beautiful gardens, and maintenance division that we have garden managers that work within the gardens to help maintain them after they're constructed, as well as our sister company, More Tree Care, that helps care for the trees that are part of our spaces.
We were wanting people as they come through to have the feeling of a welcoming space where they could enjoy the architecture of the building, have vignettes of garden rooms. One end we have a sitting area with a French limestone fountain, and then the opposite on axis is a Kalamazoo grill that's custom with the gaucho for Texas, and we just wanted to have a welcoming feel for the garden.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to go to homeworthy.com for exclusive content, shopping guides, and so much more.